Okay, the Amish, space commies, and the economic circle jerk. Something like that's what I'm going to title this video. This is a response to Lambdog, Southern Paladin, whatever he wants to go by, and Backwoods, because Backwoods made a video and I watched it, and I don't have much to say to Backwoods, but I have a couple of things. And first off, one of his points was that these robots are probably farther off than we think. That's what I used to think, man. Like 10 years ago, or whenever it was Andrew Yang was talking about his shit, I kind of thought the idea of an AI robot workforce taking over was ridiculous. Never going to happen. Not in my lifetime, anyway. And if you look at the technology that's out there from, Tesla, Boston Dynamics, all of the, AI chat things, all the AI art things, this shit's coming. It's coming faster than any of us ever believed was possible. When I said in my last video that it was, 10 to 20 years max, I think that's being a little generous. This could be a 5-year problem. Maybe not. I think 20 years is enough time to solve all of the technological problems that they're going to have to solve with this. It's not that there aren't problems with it currently, and this is kind of why in my last video I said this isn't a problem now, and I don't really care about this because it's not a problem today, and because there's nothing I can really do about it. So you could debate whether this is 5 years off, 20 years off, 100 years off, but the point is, I think we're walking down this direction. This is inevitable. Whether it's 10 years from now or 100 years from now, they're going to do it at some point. And the thing your video made me think of was the Amish. And the Amish are going to be pretty well insulated from this in most ways, except for the fact that the goods that they make still have to be bought by non-Amish for the most part. Like, they can kind of trade amongst themselves or whatever, and that would go on for a while. But with no outside economic input into that system, they're going to run into things that they need money for too that they don't have money for. Because currently they exist by making a fuckload of money off of the English buying handmade goods. The English is what they call us, by the way, for those who don't know. And certainly that could be a model that some people go with going forward, especially if you have a medium amount of money now, any savings, any current small business ventures. If you leaned into handcrafted and then maybe bought a couple of AI robots to help you, do menial tasks around the shop, you could definitely survive for a while, assuming that the general population had money to spend on your shit, which is my main criticism of Lambdog's whole point is, riddle me this, Batman. How do you have an economy without consumers? I think that was the comment I left him. I think it's pretty apropos. We'll get to space commies at the end, I guess, because we're already going into what I'd like to call the economic circle jerk, which is the exchange of money that we have in this system where, you get paid, you buy the things that you have to buy, rent, food, whatever. You have a certain amount of money left over that you spend on whatever it is you want to spend it on. And the combination of the things you have to buy and the things that you want to buy put money back into the economy, excuse me, to feed bigger businesses that then pay back money into the system that eventually becomes your paycheck again. And it's this giant, just swirling pool of money. And that circle jerk that it is all well and good until someone introduces, a AI robot sex pet. Looks like a girl, feels like a girl, whatever. No one's going to be interested in getting jerked off in the circle jerk anymore if you can go have a fucking, harem of sex robots. It destroys the circle jerk. And I think that's the effect that an AI workforce has on our economic circle jerk. It's just the same exact thing. You know, one part of the machine breaks down and now there's no money over here to go over here, so then these people can't put money over here, so then the government can't do this, and then at the end of the day your boss can't pay you. And with the giant interruption in this entire cycle that AI robotics would be, pardon me one second. God damn. Sorry guys. I wish I edited now or had a cough button. But with the giant interruption that these things would be, I don't see how it doesn't just kill our entire economy. And at the point that the circle jerk completely breaks down to the point that nobody has any money, we are on the road to space communism, is what Lambdog and I have been calling it, which is, you know, what they have in Star Trek. There is no greed, there's no money. You know, the economics of the future are different. But why are the economics of the future different? In Star Trek, which I've been a fan of Star Trek since I was like 2 or 3 years old. I was born in the heyday of the Next Generation. I have space communism burned into my soul, I guess, because of Gene Roddenberry. But the economics of the future were different because they had better than robot production. They had machines where you literally just typed in what you wanted and it would make appear the object or food or drink or whatever it is. They call them replicators. And in a system where there are these magic machines that can just make shit, why would you buy anything? And I think that technology caused them to be space communists. And I think we are short-sighted on seeing how the robots would pretty much be a slower version of the same thing. Are they going to take over everything immediately? To Backwood's point, well, the medical industry is still going to need people and, you know, therapy. Well, the medical people, I guarantee you, as soon as a humanoid AI robot worker is available, every office bureaucrat in the medical system, every CNA, every nurse, and every physician's assistant is instantly out of a job. Because now they are trying to compete with a workforce that works for free, doesn't ever get sick. You know, they're basically doing menial tasks and at the level of nurse and physician's assistant, weeding out people for the doctor to see. The robots will be able to do that. They're pretty damn smart already as far as the AI goes, and they're only going to get better in the next 20 years. And this would leave the doctor and the therapist, we'll get to them in a minute. The doctor is going to be slower to replace because of the amount of knowledge and hands-on shit that they would need. But how long is it until there's a smart enough AI to learn all the shit needed to learn, that you need to learn to be a doctor? And then they program some super AI with a bunch of hands-on experience from 1,000 different doctors, the same way that they're going to replace fighter pilots with a supercharged AI that has the combined experience of 1,000 different fighter pilots. There's going to be AI doctors in robot bodies. That's going to be a thing. Will it be slower than the dude flipping burgers at McDonald's? I would bet yes. How much slower? I think you would be shocked at how it really doesn't matter. It's probably within a decade of one happening, the other happens. Again, the military's already working on replacing fighter pilots with this same shit. My bet is the military's also working on having field doctors that are robots. So, even the doctors are going to be out of work. And this is where, well, what about the therapists? Well, the therapists have the advantage of needing a real human interaction to get their job done. And I think their job is relatively secure. I didn't think about them in my list of people that would still have a job. But included amongst the business owners, there's also the therapists and the Amish, I guess, backwoods. But like, how many people is that nationwide? It's not as many as like the entire population. And this is where, even with those groups added into the people that are making money still or do have jobs still, it's not going to matter. 90% of the population is completely useless and unemployed, or trying to start their own small business to sell widgets to people that don't have money. At the end of the day, the economic circle jerk has been broken. Your hoop is broken. And I think the only answer at that point is the whole federalizing all the businesses, that at least all the major businesses, like something like the Amish making chairs probably isn't going to get federalized, right? Something like you selling your paintings probably isn't going to get federalized. When I'm talking about federalizing businesses, I'm talking about like any major corporation, any business that currently has more than probably 5 employees. Maybe even some of the ones that have 5 employees. I don't know where you would draw that line, but for sure, shit like McDonald's, Walmart, the oil companies, the car manufacturers, all of the medical industry. And at the point that the government owns all of that shit, and now the government is printing out money to hand to you to go and do the things that you want to do, if you own all of the means of production, you own the printing press, and you have relative control over the people, there's no reason why you can't make that system work. You're just establishing a enforced circle jerk, I guess. You're forcing the system to continue on. And I view this as the lesser of the evils because it's the only one that doesn't involve killing massive amounts of people. As much as you can hate communism or whatever, like, what are the problems with communism, really? There's 2, as far as I can think about it. I didn't think about this an awful lot before I made this video. If there's one I'm missing, go ahead and tell me in the comments. But the main 2 problems with communism are, if you pay everybody the same, whether they work or not, eventually nobody works. If you have an AI robotic workforce, that no longer applies. The other main problem with communism is corrupt, greedy leaders, which you could curtail through just having a constitutional government, kind of like we have, and even more than that, making it to where everybody gets paid the same no matter what they're doing, no matter what position. Like, you're the president of the United States, cool, you make universal basic income. Unless you take that money and invest it in art supplies and make great paintings that everybody wants to buy, or you're an actor and you go make a movie. But like, I think it would even break down the whole economics of making movies in some ways. I don't know, I haven't really thought about the film industry that much. This is where no one's going to want to watch a movie with AI robot actors, so those people are probably still going to have jobs. But if everybody in the US is unemployed, how many people are going to be fighting for acting jobs? It's probably going to be a lot. And again, I think the whole space communist UBI system really only works if everybody gets paid the same no matter what. And then at that point, the actors that are acting for the joy of it, much like the politicians that want to rule the country or whatever, are doing it for the joy of it and the power of it. And this is where you would have to curtail their power. And I don't really have a good answer to that. Every communist system on earth pretty much inevitably ends in some sort of crazy dictatorship because of that number 2 reason. But again, would you rather deal with the problems of that or deal with the extinction of the human race, basically? I see that as the other serious option that comes up in this whole AI robot bullshit. You know, and then what is the point of a planet of entirely AI robot workers? Is it to keep the rich oligarchs happy? Like, they're going to be like the kings of Europe or emperors or whatever, sitting there with their extended family, now taking over the globe that they've rid of all these useless eaters that we don't need. I don't know. I don't like that future. I don't really like the space communist future, but I damn sure don't like the future where 90+% of the planet dies and the 10% that is left are rich oligarchs and their extended families who own all the robots, and gee, aren't they happy in paradise? Like, I'm sorry, you don't get to win that way. And I don't like that so much that I'm pretty sure that a whole bunch of other people would feel the same way, to the point that we had, you know, Mongol biker gangs with fucking swords and guns and shit, raping and pillaging the fucking rich people. You know, so in other words, they would be forced to exterminate the other 90% of the planet. Either that or die themselves. And then after some bloody fucking war, then we end up with space communism or worse again. It could be, you know, full on fucking old school communism or Nazism or some shit, instead of, you know, the Star Trek like future that we could build. We have the opportunity in the here and now to do things that would make a system that would be better for everyone. I think that's what we should do. Just from a value of human life standpoint, I don't think any of the other options are really realistic. And I don't think the idea of everyone being their own contractor and having their own robot and leasing that robot to a company, or everyone being a small businessman making Amish crafted chairs, is really going to work. When it comes to owning your own robot and leasing it to a company, you would have to make it the law to where a company couldn't own robots. Which I guess you could do, but then they'll just go to China. Not to mention, the robots are going to be super fucking expensive. I mean, that's at least a given when they first come out. Maybe it's like anything else, the more of them you make, the cheaper they get, but they're probably going to contain, you know, rare earth metals, complex manufactured parts. They're going to not be a cheap thing at any point, would be my estimation. And if we do replace our entire workforce with them, I don't see the average person going out and buying a robot like in, I don't know if you saw the movie Surrogates, but that was basically the premise of that movie. Was they made these robots that you could control through a headset, and then they would be your surrogate person out there doing work for you, but you were actually controlling them the whole time, so you just never had to leave your house. And you could have your surrogate look however you wanted and be however you wanted, but you were still you. Is it possible? Yes. Is it plausible? Not really. At the end of the day, these companies are going to just buy a bunch of robots and not hire your robot that you're leasing, because it's going to be cheaper. You know, think about McDonald's. McDonald's doesn't even buy potatoes. McDonald's grows potatoes. You really think McDonald's is going to lease a robot from you? The same goes for Walmart, you know, all the oil companies, you know, name a thing, basically. And so then the question becomes, you know, how do you keep people from just sitting on the couch and watching TV and enjoying life? Well, my thing here is, you know, I know this is bold, but you don't. If someone wants to just sit home and watch TV and order food on DoorDash and enjoy the new space communist robot future, you let them. It's called freedom. You know, if someone wants to go do drugs in the gutter until they die, you let them. This is America. You know, not to sound like Ron Swanson, but are there going to be some people that, you know, dedicate themselves to making Amish handcrafted chairs or painting paintings or being a therapist? Sure. And maybe are we going to need more therapists as a result of this? I don't know. It depends on what you do. If you legalize all drugs at the same time, I would say yes, there's going to be a very much increased need for therapists. But assuming you don't do that, and assuming you're just freeing people from the need to go and toil at McDonald's every day, I think you're going to need a hell of a lot less therapists. A lot of the problems that people end up in therapy for are related to the fact that they are mentally and physically exhausted for their entire lives, and or they do a bunch of drugs and fuck up their brain. You know, I don't really like the idea of, well, we'll have the government make it to where the people can't just stay on their couch. Like, again, this is America. It's freedom. If you don't want to do art and you just want to stay home and play video games and hang out with your kids, more power to you. You know, will you have less money than the dude who spends every waking hour making Amish handcrafted chairs and selling them to the super rich? Probably. But also at the same time, if there's no super rich, who's going to buy those chairs? Or will someone still buy the chairs, but they're just less than they used to be? It's probably the case. And at the end of the day, somebody somewhere is probably still going to be rich. Whether it's the business owners and the therapists or the bankers or whoever the fuck it is. It would be nice to think in space communist future that literally everyone is just the same. I think that would be the ultimate end goal of all this shit, but it would take us a while to get there. And to address Lambdog's video, kind of, I think I've been doing that most of this time, but to address him specifically, of the choices available to us, I am for space communism and UBI because it makes the most sense. If you've literally made a state where the production of goods is happening, but there is no economic base to buy said goods, that's a stupid system. And the only way to really fix that while still having the robots make everything is some sort of communist system. I don't really like the word as the word communist. I prefer a socialist system. This is where fine line, same thing, whatever. Okay. But if you look at Nazi Germany, they were socialist. If you look at the USSR, they were communists. And it seems to me that the socialist method had better results for the average person. Maybe we just didn't see the Germans take it all the way to starving in the streets like the communists did because they weren't around as long. I'll give you that. But whatever that fine difference is between socialism and communism, which is basically different names for the same thing from the perspective of an American, but from the perspective of the socialists and the communists, they disagree so much that they kill each other over it. So there's something there. I would have to research exactly what it is, but it seems like in the USSR, they took away everybody's shit and made everyone fucking peasants except for the political elite. Whereas in Germany, they federalized or made government run the companies but otherwise left people's shit alone. They didn't go after, you know, the small business owner and the farmer. They went after, you know, the giant mega corporations and industries that supported the country. And I think that would be more the way to do this. You know, when you make a chair and sell it, you don't turn over that money to the government. If you take your money and you invest it in developing skills to make a painting or a chair and buy the materials to do that, you're free to sell that and then keep the proceeds. And that's not, you know, communism to me. I don't know what this is, what I'm describing here. Space socialism. Maybe we're going to be moon Nazis. I do like the idea of moon Nazis just because it sounds cool, but my basic premise is that the government owns the robots, the government owns the corporations, and the government, as we the people, makes all the money and distributes that money evenly to everybody. Instead of having, you know, a handful of people own those companies and rule the whole world. You know, I'd hate to see a future where literally your sons and daughters are, you know, being whored out to the mega rich for a $5 bill because $5 is more money than they ever make in a lifetime. What did you do today, honey? Well, I sucked the toes of this billionaire for $5. Oh, that's nice. It'd be akin to the way things were in France before the revolution, where literally there were people starving in the streets and they're sitting in the palace having feasts and cake and debauchery. It would get pretty out of control pretty fast. And this is the reason why I'm pro-space communist and anti, you know, continuing a capitalistic system with a broken circle jerk with AI robots. I hope this video made some sense to somebody, but these are my thoughts. If you disagree with me on UBI and space communism, okay, but my position on this for you is come up with a better plan. Tell me what the better plan is. And as far as I can tell, Lambdog76's plan is basically, hey, everybody just dies. Or starves in the streets or whatever. The reason I say that is he's proposing that these people now have no value and therefore shouldn't get paid for doing nothing, while at the same time not answering the question of how do you have an economy with no consumers? And without consumers to buy the products, no products get sold, so there's no need to have products made, so there's no need for robots. You know, when the circle jerk breaks down, it breaks down real fucking hard. I think that's what this technology would do. It would break our entire system and way of doing things to the point that we would have to come up with something different. And, you know, the economics of the future are going to look different. Star Trek was right. And if we can eliminate greed and lust for power and encourage people to go do what they actually want to do, whether that's sitting on the couch watching TV or walking the earth or making Amish made furniture or painting paintings or whatever, I think they should go do that. And hopefully there's at least a few people that the thing they want to do is help people and be a therapist and maybe make some extra money, because there's probably going to be a lot of people needing therapy. I think that's my main takeaway from Backwoods video is you're kind of dead on about the therapists. Like, I think no matter what, in this process, even if you make people's lives better, there's going to be some people needing fucking mental help. Because, I mean, look at the super rich. You know, they get bored. They don't know what to do anymore. They've done everything. And if people don't know to invest their time, energy, and effort into something productive, for those people who just sit on the couch, they're probably going to end up with some mental health problems. I don't know. I'll see you guys later.